Hunter x Hunter is filled to the brim with complex and at times cryptic characters, some with very front-loaded characterization, some for whom you are encouraged to read between the lines and grasp the subtext through the substantial breadcrumbs, and some who lie somewhere in between. And I think something that should be applauded in the series nearly as much as the sheer quality of the characters is the variety. The approach Togashi takes to writing Killua is entirely different to how he writes Hisoka, for instance, whose execution is totally different from Pariston. But even having said that, there is a character throughout the cast who just has an entirely different feel to everyone else, and not just because he's the closest thing to a personification of the main thematic motif of the story. Hunter x Hunter begins and ends with Ging Freecss. Metaphorically if you look at the entire narrative, but literally if you're talking solely about the 2011 anime. Yet due to the structure of the story, the approach to his character is entirely different pre-election arc, because after Chimera Ant we actually get to know the man. Before then, however, our perception of him is fluid and constantly being enriched and added to through word of mouth and little integrative tidbits, as seemingly every character of note seems to have a story about or thought on Gon's father. Yet as phenomenal as this build-up is for strengthening the hook and indirectly characterizing him, it leads to a vast misinterpretation of who the man is at a deep level. In-universe without a doubt, as so many look on at him in awe without really understanding him or simply view him on a shallow level. But this also translates to a bit of a misunderstanding of who he is as a person from watchers and readers too. Only on occasion though. I'm not trying to make it seem like no one understands Ging, but I've just seen a notable amount of people who seem to think of him as someone far different to who he is at heart, in my opinion. And the reason for that is due to the strength he has and the legend that he leaves behind in his wake. People have trouble understanding someone that seems to be a symbol on a pedestal, and he has trouble understanding others. And that leads to a bit of desolation. Ging Freecss to me is an abstract subset of the idea of the loneliness of strength. Strength not necessarily being restricted to physical feats, of course, but a sort of spiritual power in this case. He is a hero to some, a legend, a myth, a piece of shit. And all of those descriptors can apply to him, but they are born from his actions and feats, and an over-reliance on them clouds the fact that underneath it all, he really is just a man. Whether you think of him as good or bad or neither, he is simply a man. Gon himself realized this, that he had been putting his father on this grand pedestal his entire life, only to realize that at the end of the day he was a pretty normal guy. He had done special things, and he was this embodiment of Zen and conquest, but that didn't mean that he wasn't human. And the inability of others in the story to see him as such leads to mass mischaracterization about who he is and where his heart lies. Now, of course, the most defining element of Ging in the story is his relationship with Gon, which is brimming with personal issues to say the least. But unlike how some may think, the problem from Jing's point of view that leads to these things is not malice or a lack of care for him or even apathy, but rather him taking this too far in the other direction. While others may think that he is larger than life and inhuman, he doesn't believe himself to be wholly unique in his feats. Ging thought of himself as impressive, but not unreplicable, and he believed that Gon being his son meant that he could do the things that Ging himself did with no problems. But the lack of clear communication here made Gon misunderstand in a devastating way, because to me it's clear that Ging does care for Gon, and he wants what's best for him. It may seem strange to say, but it's the truth. This is why he left him with Mito, because despite wanting to care for him initially, she put her foot down and made him see that that was the best place for him to grow up. I think his gut instinct was to care for Gon himself, but upon reflection, I think he had enough self-awareness to see that that sort of life isn't the life for a young child, let alone a baby, and that he wouldn't be a good father, whereas Mito would be an amazing mother. Along with this, he also believed that Gon would be able to be like him, value what he values, see what he sees, achieve this conquest, become a hunter, and reach the heights of human experience. That's why he left Gon there with this chase. Becoming a hunter led Ging to fulfillment, so it surely would for Gon too. And from his perspective, he had Gon set up for happiness, a loving home, a challenging journey with friends that he would be able to win because he was his son, at the end of which he would be rewarded with the experience of a lifetime. From Jing's viewpoint, Gon meeting him wasn't really a reward as much as the adventures Gon would have and the friends he would make. But Ging undervalues himself. He didn't stop to think for a second that Gon would want to be loved by him, or at least properly acknowledged by him, and how that would lead him to spiral as he tried to become worthy of his praise. Ging himself has always been fine with being a lone wolf and a free spirit, so he thought that Gon would understand and not have any problems adjusting to his absence. And then once things were set in motion, he was all too self-aware that he was not being a worthy father, or even just a worthy person in Gon's life. He isn't stupid. He knew that he should see and talk to his son throughout all of this. But it had gone on too long for him to not feel shame, and so like the coward that he can be at times, he ran. Not towards something, but from his mistakes. Ging absolutely did not require from Gon what Gon thought he would. He only set him up like this because he thought that it would lead to happiness for his son, but at the same time he was too embarrassed and ashamed to own up to this, which is why he avoided him, avoided his friends, was bashful when others criticized him, and had trouble facing Gon at the end. Gon believed that Ging would only look at him and care for him if he had adequate strength, but that isn't true. That's just Gon's perception. Yet Ging never really truly understood how much his actions tortured Gon. He was completely unaware that the challenges set out for him may have been too much at times, which combined with the gnawing anxiety Gon felt at having to become stronger to be worthy of Ging and how chained he felt to progress to lead into what happened in the Chimera Ant arc. Ging was unaware of how his absence would plague Gon and form the core of his tortured mentality, as explained in my most recent Gon video. I feel like if he knew, he would absolutely have dropped the cowardice, realizing the true extent of how much his son was suffering. And I say this because when the true severity of his mistake finally did dawn on him, he agreed to meet and talk with Gon. After one final chase, of course.
待ちくたびれたぞ。
I think it's important to emphasize that Ging has key traits that he will never stop leaning on no matter the circumstance. He will always challenge his son, as shown by the World Tree climb. He will always believe that he will achieve insane things and survive through anything because he is his son, as shown by his faith that he would be alright throughout election. But the extreme nature of how some of these things manifested was not due to any malice, just poor understanding. And he does these things because he cares and is invested. Someone totally disinterested in his son would not set up this journey for him and spend so much energy avoiding facing the fact that he did him dirty. Someone disinterested would simply not be moved in any way if he didn't care. But he does care. He's just a strange person, and so he shows his care in ways that are weird and non-traditional and definitely suboptimal. Ging is a quote-unquote non-traditional or bad father. In fact, I've seen many make the argument that he isn't a father at all and shouldn't be judged in such terms, and I get that. But the point is that when it comes to Gon's suffering, this isn't due to intent or malice or even indifference. It's due to obliviousness, a lack of understanding, and a lack of realizing that he is built different, even from his own son. He knew he was special, but not unique. But he is, and Gon is. Now let me be clear again. Intent alone does not make Ging a good father or a good person, and it doesn't mean that he isn't partly at fault for the fact that he is misunderstood. And I do need to clarify this. He is a bad communicator a lot of the time, with a lack of interpersonal intelligence and perspective, and that combination was deadly when he used his judgment to leave Gon like he did, which made mischaracterization a very likely thing both in-universe and out. I am not saying that this makes Ging a great person, but nonetheless I want to be clear about his intent because it's very important. It's entirely fair to morally judge Ging on his actions alone, and I won't try to stop you. But if we really want to understand the man truly and deeply, how he thinks, we need to understand that his actions are only one part of the puzzle and are misrepresentative if taken at face value. Because Ging is so many things. A journeyman, a legend, a myth, a Nen master, the creator of Greed Island, an absent father. But he is all of these things and none. He stares up at the same sky as everyone else, and he is just a guy. And others don't really see him that way all the time. Ging has tons of friends all over the place who see him for who he is, and he uses this knowledge of the value of connections to contextualize how important it is for Gon to have friends. So I'm not trying to say that he is representative of the loneliness of strength in that he's totally isolated, because he's not. Nor is he forlorn like Netero. but I'm sure that in moments, Ging likely wishes that he was easier to understand. In instances, he must feel that separation, and it is not easy to bridge that gap. One of the most agonizing things is to be misunderstood. Ging is a symbol. In the series, he is an ideal for Gon and a larger-than-life idea for the audience due to not meeting him and hearing things from word of mouth. But those things only tell one minor side of the story, because while he is a symbol, he is more so a human being, and we need to see him as such. Humans are capable of cowardice, contradictory behavior, misunderstanding themselves, and so is Ging. Ging can be selfish, cowardly, deflective, negligent, but he is also someone who wants others to experience the world as he did and understands the wonders that he strives for. He is someone who loves the world and wants it to be shared. He ultimately gave in and helped Kite train in Nen, becoming his mentor of sorts and imparting his philosophy onto him. To an extent, at least. And as we see Mito recount, Ging and her would always go on little adventures throughout the island and he would always run off, but whenever she got lost and scared, he would be there to rescue her. This is not a malicious man in any sense, and it shows that he wants to have fun with those he cares for and wants them to be safe. He cares for others and wants them to experience the joys of what he experiences. He just has problems understanding when he should apply his experiences and attitude to everyone, and he can't really put himself in others' shoes. And when it comes to Gon, he just misunderstood and made a poor judgment call as human beings tend to do. He deeply values relationships and journeys and detours and wants those to be shared with those he cares about. And he cares about Gon, without a doubt. That's why he shares his soul with him. That's why he tells him so much about himself despite being this guarded enigma of a legend that few really understand. He made Greed Island partly for him. He left him with a great mother. He trusted him to a wonderful mentor in Kite. He is a coward with a low opinion of his ability to be a proper father and even mentor, so he entrusts that task with those he thinks are better suited, despite ironically being a great teacher when he talks to Gon about detours and life. Care simply doesn't always manifest in traditional, cookie-cutter ways, in life and in this story. And all you need to do is look at someone like Illumi, who undoubtedly loves Killua, just in this toxic, possessive way. Though that is an extreme that isn't comparable, of course, but just a way of communicating that just because Ging doesn't show care in a way that you would, doesn't mean that he doesn't care. It doesn't mean that he's not incredibly flawed either, but the point is to simply make sure that we understand who the man is at heart. However, by the end, he realizes his mistakes, sees his son as the person he is, and realizes that he is different from him. Which is why both look at Gon's new journey bereft of Nen and the concept of learning about it from a new perspective as a fresh and exciting challenge. One free from the shackles of emulating his father and one where he can fully be his own person. And as a result, I feel like Ging and Gon's relationship after this point will be quite changed. Partly because Ging got over the communication gap and awkwardness and Gon sees him for who he is, but partly because he now understands that Gon is different. Just as Gon awoke to his over-idealization of Ging, Ging realizes that Gon isn't his ideal of what he viewed his son to be. Gon is a person. And as a result of this, maybe now both of them will feel a bit less lonely than they might have. Ging Freecss isn't a good father, but neither is he an awful person. He's simply a nuanced human capable of both brilliance and stupidity, kindness and flaws. He has the potential of otherworldly brilliance, but he is a man with his feet firmly on the ground. Make of him what you will, but take into account all that he is, not the scattered ideas accrued through word of mouth. Many thanks for watching.